week by Yaga Africa on National Voting Intention Survey, which found that 76% of Nigerians would like to vote in 2027, but 42% will seem to be afraid of electoral violence. And the recommendation is that to increase voter turnout, something has to be done about security, prevention of violence, and that will seem to fall squarely within the purview of the security agencies. Now, you are the Commissioner of Police in charge of elections planning, monitoring, and evaluation. First, what's your reaction to that round one analysis in that report by Yaga Africa about how security is a major issue, fear of violence is a major issue?
All right. I was actually present at the presentation of this report in Abuja last week, and I've read through the report. And let me state here that it is more of perception than reality. You know, irrespective, anywhere there's human interaction, there's always need to up the game on provision of security. And in this report, there is nowhere that it has been drawn that the low participation has anything, or insecurity or security issues has anything to do with the low participation, which was identified by the researchers. They have not drawn that conclusion. So I think we just have to be careful while we try to link things together. And having said that, the Nigerian Police Force has the lead security agency on election security. Is putting in everything that is needed to be put in place to ensure that there's adequate provision of security during election. For instance, I will state that the Nigerian Police Force is putting all its strength out to provide adequate security during election. A lot is being done regarding training of police officers to be able to provide the required security needed for the election. A lot is being done as well as acquiring the logistics needed for the provision of security during this election. And one thing the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetukun, PhD, NPM, is particular and focused about is to ensure that we have elections that are free of violence. And if you look at the couple of elections we've had in the recent time, this shows that. For instance, the governorship election in Anambra in November last year, this has been adjudged as one of the most peaceful elections so far in Nigeria. And as a matter of fact, we recorded zero violence during this election. And this happened because of the different measures put in place to ensure that we arrive at this intentional outcome.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shogunle. But let me say something. You said that the report didn't, demonstrate a link between insecurity or security concerns and voter apathy. But it's very clear in the report, in their key findings. In fact, one of it is that 21% of the respondents, which is the highest chunk, state security concern as a dominant factor influencing voting intention. So it's actually a big concern for a number of voters and would potentially affect how, whether or not they come out to vote. So it's a big deal. Then the second part of that is that in some elections or in some centers, we see whereby the officers themselves are complicit when it comes to, looking away during violence on elections. What have you been able to address that or identify that and correct that for the next election cycle? And then also very quickly on that one, I just want to ask if you've been able to identify some hotspots and what are the measures designed to ensure you're able to address concerns in those areas?
You see, Ayo, in answering your question specifically, just as I said, that this is more about perception and not reality. When you look at polling units, you will discover that in many polling units, we even have more people who are not registered voters present at the polling unit than the actual registered voters that want to vote or that are there to vote. So there is nowhere in the report that is linking voter apathy with insecurity. And if you notice, or if it happens that we have even more people who are not registered voters in a polling unit observing, in quote, than the actual number of people who are registered who are out to vote. So are we going to say that there is insecurity regarding that? And having said that, the Nigerian police force, we know the duties or responsibilities assigned to us regarding the election. And the election has been divided into 3 phases. We have the pre-election, which covers the campaign period. Then we have the actual election date, which also covers the collation. Then we have the post-election. That is when the results have been announced. So for these 3 phases, we have different security architecture designed for this. And again, there is what we call the threat analysis. Before the election, we do a threat analysis, community by community, local government by local government, state by state. And this threat analysis makes us to understand what would most likely happen. And this allows us to go before these people who are planning to do certain things that might not make the election to go on peacefully.
Okay, Mr. Shogule, I don't need a report by Yaga to tell me that a lot of voter apathy is because of people don't trust the security authorities during elections. Look at the 2023 elections. Look at governorship elections in Lagos. When they carried Oro and there was mayhem and people were being chased away from police, the police was left flat-footed, couldn't do anything. There were many police stations. In fact, in the first place, you don't even have enough people manning the police stations, 1 or 2 police officers. When these criminal elements come and cut away election material, the police is just left there looking. We have empirical videos on camera. And that's why when people go vote, they get injured. That's why they don't want to come out and vote. So I don't even need Yaga reports. The last election cycle showed everything. So I don't know what you're talking about when you're saying, you know, that it's not because of the police. It's because of insecurity. Police are supposed to guard, you know, the process. But we see criminal elements come around. And police officers are left there and they're not even able to man anything.
All right, Rufai, regarding what you've said, again, I would say this has to do with perception. And again, this incident you've mentioned, these are just isolated cases. And there are reports as well that those that are responsible for the action you mentioned were eventually arrested and necessary action
were they prosecuted?
has been
Can
taken.
I ask you a question honestly? And please, be honest with me, true to God. How many people did the police prosecute for shenanigans and election shenanigans in the last 2023 elections? How many people did the police prosecute?
Oh, the reports are...
Up to court level. That you arrested them, you sent them through the legal process, and they were prosecuted. How many? Please. True to God.
In Kano State, for instance, which even your media outlet reported, over 300 people, over 300 electoral violators were prosecuted in Kano, which was reported by your media station. And in Kogi State, for instance, some people were as well prosecuted and even convicted. The particular issue you mentioned in Lagos.
Yeah, how many people were prosecuted in Lagos?
In Kogi.
How many people were
Over
prosecuted in
17.
Kogi?
Your
in Lagos, Unko?
Can you allow me?
Go ahead. You have
when
the
you
floor.
ask Rufai, can you allow me to respond?
In Lagos, yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
It is even reported by it has been reported by your channels, by your media as well. So prosecution of electoral violators are ongoing.
How many people were prosecuted in Lagos? That's what I
perception.
asked you. How many people were prosecuted in Lagos? You've given me the number of Kanu, Kogi. How many people were prosecuted in Lagos for those electoral offenses in 2023 elections?
Over 17 people were arrested, and the process was taken up to court. The records are there. If you want me to give actual figures,
thank God you've just given out the stats. Over 17 people with all of the election hotspots in the whole of Lagos. And the shenanigan that happened where even our own Arise cameraman was beaten, all right? Oh, just 17 people were prosecuted in the whole of Lagos. And you say it's a perception when people say they don't have trust in the security to guard them. In the whole of Lagos, just 17 people were prosecuted. I mean, it tells the story. So it's not about data. We are talking about reality. And please, remove the word perception. It's not perception. It's what people see with their eyes. Please. Dr. Abati.
Okay. Commissioner Shogunle. Now, very soon it will be another election cycle, apart from the off-cycle elections, then the general election for 2027. As the commissioner in charge of elections planning, monitoring, and evaluation, what are the specific challenges that the police will seem to face during every election cycle? And what are your expectations? Because we don't want to wake up tomorrow and the police headquarters is saying, oh, we need so much money. It's always about money. But tell us, what are the challenges, operational challenges, specific challenges that you face with regard to, elections? Now that there's so much talk about election reform, review of the 2022 Electoral Act.
Dr. Abati, regarding the issue of challenges that we face, this has always been mentioned during high-level meetings at the appropriate quarters. And let me give an example here. During meetings at INEC, that's the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election. You know, part of the challenges or part of what we see as challenges has to do with deployment into difficult terrains, terrains that in most cases are not easy to enter into. That's one of the things. Then another thing again is communication. Just as you know, the Nigerian police force, we rely on available public communications, which everybody also relies on. And in the days of election, this communication network seems to be overwhelmed, So those are the challenges, or those are what we see as challenges. But irrespective of that, we have also devised medium to overcome these challenges, like ensuring adequate deployment of our officers, also the pre-election training, and providing adequate security during elections.
But funding. Those challenges, I just want you to be specific and say these are the challenges we face. Whatever you
as I've told you, I've mentioned
those meetings. Just share with us, the people, because civil society also has a role to play. Hello, Commissioner?
I mentioned, I can hear you, Dr. Abati. I mentioned INEC because there is nothing I'm saying on this program regarding challenges that is not known to the appropriate quarters. And that's what I've said. Those are the challenges we have at the moment. I don't know if tomorrow these challenges will change, but as we speak, those are the major challenges we have.
Okay. Like what now? I'm speaking English. These are the challenges we have: statistics, funding. Just be specific. Forget about your conversation with INEC. We are speaking to you as members of civil society.
I mentioned deployment into difficult to reach terrains, like riverine areas, mountainous areas, areas where there are no accessible roads. That is one. I also mentioned issue of communication. There are some areas where there are no communication. those are the two major challenges I've mentioned to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Shogunle. Just as we let you go in one sentence, because according to reports and as we have shared here, safety is a big concern for voters and might actually or would actually prevent a number of people from coming out to vote in 2027. In one sentence, how do you reassure Nigerians of the Commission's willingness to ensure that every single person who comes out to vote will be safe?
All right, just as I said, let's judge or let's take it from the just concluded Anambra State governorship election. A lot was done regarding planning and execution of the operational order for that election. And Anambra election has been adjudged to be one of the freest and most violent free election in the history of democracy in Nigeria. And we intend to replicate the same feat next month during the area council elections in Federal Capital Territory. We also intend to do the same thing during the upcoming governorship election in Ekiti State come June, and also in August for the governorship election in Osun State. So the Nigerian police force will continue to do all that is needed to ensure that there is violent-free election. Let me also add that having more people to come out to vote is not just issue of thinking that they are not safe. The political parties also need to go out to canvass and get their supporters to come out to vote for them.
Sir, thank you so much. We are focusing on safety today. Let's leave the political. Today is your day. We're focusing on safety and what you will do to ensure that people are safe. Thank you so much for your time with us, Mr. Shogunle.